Hello friends, welcome to Engineering Today, and hope you're all hale and hearty. As always, we're back with some latest space updates for you. We'll start with the latest changes in Starship and Super Heavy design, then we'll talk about SpaceX's intentions to launch Gen 2 Starlink by March 2022, and we'll finally conclude with the International Space Station's extension to 2030. Let's start with the latest changes and upgrades SpaceX is bringing upon Starship and Super Heavy designs. SpaceX, while preparing for their orbital Starship launch, is also working on the future Starship and Super Heavy prototypes. They're bringing up certain changes in the design of the spacecraft. As per recent reports, on the 3rd of January 2022, Elon Musk finally stated that SpaceX is changing the position of one of the two secondary header tanks in the Starship, which mainly stores the landing fuel. According to some reports, a rather technical sketch was also noticed on the side of future Starship, which indicates plans of SpaceX teams to upgrade the subsections of Starship rings. Some more design changes were spotted at SpaceX's Starbase, one being change in design of nose cones for Starship, and another design change on hardware components, which would be used for the first full-thrust Super Heavy booster. At present, SpaceX is going through an epoch of thorough design revision of both Starship and Super Heavy, so we could see a variety of upgrades and design changes in Ship 24 and Booster 7. It's expected that Ship 24, or S-24, will be the next Starship to be completed by SpaceX. As per Musk, in Ship 24, the methane header tank, which is normally located in Starship's common dome, will now be relocated to the nose cone of the ship. The oxygen header tanks are already at the nose cone from the beginning. SpaceX has placed that oxygen tank in that place for transferring the center of gravity of Starship to the forward. This present design change, taken up by SpaceX, will now further establish the center of gravity to the forward, as the methane header tank will now join the oxygen one, increasing the weight there. Michael Baylor of Next Spaceflight had tweeted to Musk, "Ship 24's common dome has been sleeved and there is no methane header tank included. Will it be moved to the nose cone at Elon Musk?" Musk replied, "Yes," confirming it. This confirmation of relocation of the methane header tank came almost a couple days after the technical sketch on the side of a Starship section had been spotted. These sort of technical diagrams are not new to SpaceX Starbase. As per reports, this diagram was quite detailed and valuable. It showed both the present Starship section design and the future one. In the diagram, it showed that 5 stack sections will be needed to complete the present nose cone design. Many of the Starship sections have got an additional ring and design change. Sources state that SpaceX teams will need to cover only 6 stack operations instead of 7 stacks earlier to fully assemble the basic structure of a Starship according to the new design. Further, with the design changes, we'll see that fully assembling a nose cone will now take only either 2 or 3 stacks in comparison to 5 stacks earlier. As there is a significant reduction in the number of stacking procedures in the new design, it's expected that these new changes will simplify and may further increase the pace of Starship production. Though the design change is not a drastic one, yet it will have a good impact on assembly procedure, as well as on matters of plumbing, wiring, and heat shield installation in the prior part of design implementation. According to some sources, it's expected that the new design changes in Starship may also be followed in the assembly of the Super Heavy booster. And if it happens, then it will significantly decrease the number of booster sections from 9 to 8 or even 7. As per reports, already some changes are noticed in the Super Heavy design. Earlier in late December 2021, a Super Heavy thrust dome, possibly of Booster 7, was sleeved with several steel rings. partly completing the first 33-engine thrust section. Interestingly, SpaceX used 4 1.4-meter tall rings for the sleeve instead of 3 1.82-meter tall rings. This sort of shorter steel ring is the first in SpaceX's history. Now with this, it's evident we'll see many more changes in Starbase with times to come. Now we'll move on to SpaceX's plans to initiate launching of next-generation Starlink satellites in March 2022. SpaceX has recently stated that they still intend to begin launching the next generation of Starlink satellites as early as March 2022. On the 7th of January 2022, SpaceX, in an electronic filing, answered a dozen questions from the FCC. SpaceX indirectly referred to the sluggish pace of FCC. They stated that they've filed its Gen 2 application more than 19 months ago and its amendment nearly 5 months ago. They were accepted for filing only 2 weeks ago. SpaceX also stated that FCC Chairwoman Jessica Rosenworcel recently acknowledged a need to speed the processing of applications to keep pace with innovation. William Wiltshire, SpaceX's lawyer, stated in a letter to FCC the company could start launching the Gen 2 system as early as March 2022. Wiltshire wrote, "Just as terrestrial wireless networks meet customer demands by operating more than one generation of technology simultaneously, SpaceX plans to use both of its networks to provide superior service. SpaceX will continue to maintain its first-generation system, launching replacement satellites as appropriate to sustain the orbits in which it operates, even as it conducts the initial deployment of the Gen 2 system. To be clear, operating both systems simultaneously does not mean that SpaceX will necessarily operate all of the satellites under its authorizations at all times in all areas. A SpaceX customer user terminal will be able to receive service from satellites of either system." SpaceX states that they'll continue to develop Configuration 1 only, which is designed and organized to use the Starship launch vehicle for Gen 2 Starlink launch. This is one of the 2 similar constellation configurations proposed in its Gen 2 application modification. Now they'll only have to consider one constellation layout, making SpaceX's Gen 2 constellation more conventional, though it's a much bigger deal. Starship will have to wait until at least March 2022 for its first orbital test flight after FAA review delays, and it's expected that the rocket may become ready to launch Starlink prototypes by that time. We'll wrap up with plans for extension of the International Space Station to 2030. NASA had published on the 31st of December 2021 that the U.S. government had approved extension of operation of the International Space Station till 2030. For progression in this matter, it's also necessary that other ISS partners should agree with this extension and continue to operate in the station after 2024, which is the earliest retirement year of the station, and other partners are now giving positive replies on this decision. Joseph Aschbacher, Director General of the European Space Agency, said that he agrees with this extension and he would submit a formal proposal to ESA's member states for the agency to continue until 2030. Christian Lang, Director of Space Exploration, Planning, Coordination, and Advanced Concepts at the Canadian Space Agency, stated, "We're very happy to see the announcement from the U.S. side that's helping the decision process." Lang stated that Canada was practically anticipating getting formal support from the U.S. for space station extension. He said, "No one would have expected Canada to make a decision before the U.S. or even ESA or Roscosmos." He also stated that CSA will be working with our government to propose options and come to a decision in a timely manner. Until now, the Russian space agency, Roscosmos, has not stated anything on extension of space station operations, so a question remains whether Russia will continue to become a partner in the International Space Station after 2024. Earlier, Dmitry Rogozin, head of Roscosmos, had stated that Russia may not remain on the ISS as the maintenance costs have increased. Moreover, Russia also has plans to build its own space station. Some recent reports state that if the U.S. government releases sanctions against 2 Russian companies, then only Rogozin plans to accept space station extension. So Russia's decision is in the fog. Naoki Sato, a representative from the Japanese space agency, JAXA, stated, "We were seeking the trigger by NASA to extend the ISS beyond 2024. With that trigger, we have just started the discussion for the extension of the ISS." Sato stated that JAXA expects to get a formal decision within this year whether they participate in the space station after 2024 or not. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe for more videos like this. Hit the like button if you find the video interesting, and kindly provide your valuable feedback in the comment section. This will help us to improve.